Let's welcome the Head of Communication Bosch Power Tools, Martin Steinlehner.
Hello everybody. Welcome here at the Bosch Blue Innovation Summit. My name is Martin Steinlehner. I'm responsible for communications at Bosch Power Tools. Great to have you all here, 100 communicators from all over Europe. The Bosch Blue Innovation Summit is a very special event lasting several days. For example, we had more than 300 specialist retailers here. And of course, our users. You know that about Bosch Power Tools, we always try to put the user first. We aim to learn about the user's needs. And therefore, we highly appreciated that on Tuesday we had 100 users spending a whole day with us. When we from the communications department, Steffi, could you please stand up? Steffi Schäfer is responsible for product communications at Bosch Power Tools. So when we learned about the idea of this event, we said we definitely should invite the media to take part. And therefore, what you will see here is not a standard press event, it's rather an exclusive glimpse behind the scenes of our professional Power Tools business. And as it should be with events like this, we also have a presenter who will guide you through this day. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my Bosch colleague, Keith Anderson.
Thank you very much, Martin. So it's also my great pleasure to welcome you to the Bosch Blue Innovation Summit. You can probably hear from my accent that I come from a small island somewhere north of France. What's today, 2nd of June, that's still a part of Europe, I think, isn't it? I'm not sure anymore. I actually come originally from somewhere near the English-Scottish borders, so if you're not sure about the English, I'm almost Scottish. Because if the Scottish aren't quite your taste, I've been living in Germany, the south of Germany for almost 20 years, so I'm almost Schwabian, whatever that means. Okay, but it's my great pleasure to accompany you through this day. It's a wonderful event, and I'm sure you'll enjoy every moment of it, apart from my part, which you'll absolutely hate. But okay, now, the first thing I want to do, I want to talk about a little bit about organization, because organization is important. You all have at your table some headsets and a receiver. The receivers don't work until you plug in the headsets. You probably worked that out already. And then we have several channels that will automatically translate my English into all of these languages. Don't put the receiver in your pocket because it's an infrared receiver, and if you put it in your pocket, it won't work. When I say this, I think like I'm part of the Eurovision Song Contest. It's because it would be then United Kingdom 0 point, which I think is the normal phrase. So there's all your languages. Now, you'll need those headsets too when you go into the experience area. And you don't need them for translation. There won't be simultaneous translation. You'll actually have some guides that can speak in your native languages that will help you there. It's more so you can hear what the guys are presenting, what they're saying, because there's a lot going on with music and a lot of mixed groups. So it's really good if you have these with you, then you can really focus on what they're saying. And this is the agenda. So we're here at the introduction part, and then you see it's mainly about experiencing the new technology in two areas. In between there's a coffee break. In the digital world we call that time for networking. Okay, we don't call it coffee break anymore, it's called time for networking, so remember that. And then we have the experience area again in the afternoon, so you go visit the next half it, and then we'll be wrapping up about 5 p.m. If you haven't already done it, I don't know if the next slide is this. Yes, it is. You will need the Bosch Blue Innovation Summit app. It will really help you go through the experience area. You'll need it for the program, and you'll also need it so you can receive the information over your headsets, I think. The Wi-Fi has the SSID Bosch. What else? The password is Bosch BIS, B-I-S. You can download it on the App Store. If you have trouble finding it on the App Store, it's an iPhone app, so you might have to filter for iPhone apps, although it works on the iPad too. If you have an Android device, you can get it on Google Play. So if you haven't got it, download it now, you'll really need it. So, that's enough of the formalities, and I think we should start. I've been working in IT, information technology, for about 30 years, actually more than 30 years. And I've experienced and helped develop a lot of microprocessor technologies, computer technologies, through the 80s, end of the 70s, through the 80s, and then into the 90s. You know what's interesting? Over the last few years, it just seems different. It seems different to me. As an IT guy, I spend more time now talking about Generation X. I don't talk about networks anymore. I seem to talk about social networks. I don't talk about connecting devices or connecting networks. I connect people. And things have really changed. And you guys are all journalists, and you're always trying to find a quote that sums it up. What's different about today? What's different about today than it was in the 80s or the 90s? There's something different about today. And I think I have found the quote that helps me the most. This is the one quote that really sums it up for me. I'll show it to you. It's from Nicholas Negroponte. Computing is not about computers anymore. It's about living. Now think about that. Computing is not about computers anymore. It's about living. You can substitute the word computers for technology. Technology is not about technology anymore. It's about living. And isn't that true? We've gone from the days when, at university we would take a whole day to print out something and test something, to you get instantaneous results. You can get feedback from across the world instantaneously. These devices that we have, you all have your smartphones, your iPads, they're with you every day. They're a part of your life. So computing is not about computing anymore, it's about living. I think that's really true. At Bosch, we do a little experiment, and you can do it now. If you don't know your colleagues, you can get to know each other. Think about an activity that you do privately. Think about it. A sport. Play tennis, golf, fishing, jogging. Or maybe you do something, you looked after an elderly parent who has a wheelchair. Think about something you do in your life socially, and then digitalize it. Put a sensor on it. You can do that this day. Think about it. You can monitor the speed, you can monitor the temperature, the location, the humidity, the pressure, all in a little integrated circuit. So take one of these objects that you use every day, let's say a tennis racket, if you play tennis, and monitor it, digitize it. And then think about what you could do with the information. What information would you take? The speed, if the strings are broken, how fast, how high, when you hit the ball. And then think about where you'd store that data and how you'd aggregate that data and who'd be interested in buying that data. And you can do it with any object in your private life. You can really do it. Just do it as an experiment. And you'll notice that computing is not about computing anymore. It's about living. Let's look at some numbers. In 2020, I got this from Google, so it must be true, okay? It must be true. In 2020, estimated, even if it's 20% accurate, still huge numbers, an estimated 4 billion connected people. And you know what? I think half of those are in my daughter's WhatsApp list. Yeah? A 4 trillion revenue opportunity. I mean, that's a huge amount of money. I can't even imagine that kind of money. 25 plus million apps. My daughter has all of them, or will have all of them, and 25 billion intelligent systems. If you can imagine it, you can digitize it. Yeah, and you can connect it, if you can imagine it. And about 50 trillion gigabytes of data, a huge amount of information. And these are just estimates. It could be more, it could be a little less, but it's still a huge amount. Okay, so that's some general background. But the question is today, what does it mean for Bosch? And in particular, what does it mean for Bosch Power Tools? Now, I'm not the best person to answer that, but I know a colleague who is. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause for Ralf Dammertz.
Thank you, and a very warm welcome also from my side to all of you. My name is Ralf Dammertz, and as you can see, I'm head of the global business unit, Bosch Professional Power Tools for the industrialized markets. Now, that's a mouthful. Let me just briefly explain what that means. And it basically means we are developing tools and products for professionals, for craftsmen who use our tools to make their living. And we are focusing on 3 regions: the region North America as an industrialized market, the region Western Europe as industrialized, and then in Asia, 3 countries: Australia, Japan, and South Korea. And in these regions, we consider 38 million people to be our potential users. Now, about this conference, it has a motto, and the motto of this conference is, let's build tomorrow. And what does that mean? What does tomorrow mean? Is tomorrow 10 years from now? Is it 20 years from now? Is it 2 years from now? Or hasn't tomorrow maybe even started already? And we believe that started already, and we want to show you today, throughout the whole day actually, how we believe the world will develop in terms of power tools and how our users work, and give you some ideas how we are also driving it. We don't have the answers for everything, but we will certainly show you a direction that we believe it's going into. So a key question for today is certainly, will digitalization change our industry, or rather the way our users work in future? And you could argue, well, how can it? I mean, it's not like a videotape or a DVD that can be replaced by a digital streaming system. We are selling power tools, and power tools are, for example, to drill a hole, and you can't drill a hole digitally. And we don't really see that there won't be a need to drill a hole in future. And so you could argue it can't change that much. On the other hand, as Keith already said, basically digitalization has changed everybody's life, our lives, my life, in ways that probably we couldn't imagine 10 years ago, before smartphones became abundant, and everybody has one now and doesn't want to stop using it anymore probably. So we think the answer to this question is very clear. Yes, of course it will change. The question is, how will it change and when will it change? The key question is, are our users today, our craftsmen around the world, are they ready for the change? Or do you need to be a digital native to really embrace digital solutions? On the job site especially. And let's look at some facts here. 61% of our users today use smart devices on the job site already, so for their work. About the same number visit social websites or social networks, and maybe that is more on the private side, but more than half already look for information about power tools online, and almost a quarter even purchase power tools online already. So clearly there is no hurdle among our users to use digital solutions if they see that they help them to become more efficient. So then the question is there really a need? I mean, what could digital solutions improve? And again, let's look at a few numbers here. 9 out of 10 projects are laid over budget. And that's not only in Berlin and Stuttgart, that's across all sizes of projects. And it's a stunning number that really shows how much potential there is to improve, because in the end it's about collaboration and improving the process to make sure that what was planned initially is also executed. And there are just too many things coming in the way today, and there is just dramatic potential. Looking at individual craftsmen or companies, where's potential for them? Look at this number. 30% of an average craftsman, he actually only spends on his time, he actually only spends on working literally on what he's paid for, like doing the work. 70% are other tasks, from preparing for work, loading stuff into the car, driving to the job site, setting up, then working, and then cleaning up afterwards, documentation, administration tasks at home. So there's a lot that that is a kind of a distraction from the actual time you spend on what you are paid for, 30% only. So huge potential again to increase productivity, because this is a very small number compared to productivity numbers you would see in other industries. And if you think about what productivity really is about, productivity is not so much about an individual problem, an individual task. Yes, we can make a hammer drill 10% faster. That does increase the productivity, but only the productivity of a very narrow part of the working day. But if you can improve the productivity from 30 to 40%, that's huge, obviously. And productivity is about managing the process. And that's where, as Keith already mentioned, digital solutions really excel. It's about having information, gathering information from different sources, sharing information, putting information in front of people the right way so that they can make the right decisions, that they avoid waste. And that's really where digital excels. And that's why we believe that digital will change the way our users work in future. So with all these opportunities out there, huge potential improvements in productivity, what matters most? We believe the answer is the user matters most. That means whatever solution we put out there, we have to come up with solutions that really address relevant user needs and that satisfy our users in all aspects. And they have become more and more demanding. I think from all the digital solutions that you are using, maybe Uber is a great example if you have used that, the user experience, the way how this works for you and the many different issues it addresses, in this case Uber, this example, that's all around getting a taxi and paying a taxi if you're in a foreign town maybe, it just does a very great job in getting this experience right. And this now set a level of expectation for you and also for our professional users. So we have to make sure that we really get a solution or develop solutions that hit user needs in all aspects. And how do we do this? It's obviously a complex task. It's not that easy. Our world used to be a little bit easier when we were talking about a next generation hammer drill, for example. And you could define what the problem is, you talk to some users, what do you like, what do you not like about the product, and then you created like a set of requirements, and then you developed a product that meets the set of requirements. That's rather the old world. We called it product-centric. Now, we have changed a few years ago to actually a more user-centric approach, which means that we are looking at the user, we are talking to the user, we understand that a solution isn't as simple as it sometimes seems, or at least the best solution isn't that simple. And the user also cannot always tell you what his problem is because he isn't really aware that it's a problem. And so we have to work with users iteratively to understand their needs, then come up with first solutions, show these solutions to them, discuss why they are maybe not exactly what they were looking for, refine what the problem is, come up with new solutions, and that's an iterative and repetitive approach. And that's what we call user-centric, really very close to the user. And we also have a name for that. We call it the UX approach, and UX stands for user experience. And in this approach, we are trying to really cover all aspects of experience that the user has with our product, but also around our product. So it's not only about using the product, it's also about searching for information about the product, purchasing the product, unpacking the product, servicing the product, the HMI the product offers. Can I adjust it to my personal needs? And the whole product ecosystem, including accessories, and even more around this. So it's a more holistic approach than just looking at a product and how can I make an individual product better for an individual task. Let me give you some examples here. The more product-related elements of user experience are obviously its usefulness. I mean, a product has to be useful, it has to solve a task. It should also be easy to use, fairly obvious as well. We think Also, professionals should enjoy using our products to the extent possible. So joy of use is another element of user experience. And aesthetics, or rather ergonomics, are important as well. You have to use these products sometimes during a longer time during a workday, so they should be very ergonomic so that you don't get tired. But what user experience also means is that we increase the scope from looking only at the, remember what I said about the 30% wrench time part, which on this slide is number 6, the working part, but we open our perspective to the entire user ecosystem or user journey. And when we say user ecosystem, that's exactly starting from preparing for the work, loading, driving to the job site, measuring, setting up, working, cleaning up later, replenishing, etc., up to administrational tasks. And so now we are covering 100% of the user's workday instead of only focusing on the power tool and the usage of the power tool. Now, with this approach, you come to slightly different solutions than traditionally. When you talk to users, you're very close to the user. Let me give you 2 examples. One example is charging for cordless. Obviously, cordless tools or batteries have to be recharged, but currently or traditionally, you are talking about, so I've got a charger, how fast is that? And a faster charger is a better charger, and the craftsman usually drives to the job site, plugs in the charger, puts his battery in, makes sure they are fully charged when he starts working. When you look at the entire user ecosystem, you start to wonder, why would I actually charge while I'm trying to work? Wouldn't I want to charge in idle time and in different times? And should the user really care about charging? Which is why we came up with inductive charging and inductive charging in the car. So now you can put your products when you drive to work, they're in the box still, you don't need to take the battery out, and they are being charged while you drive. And that just eliminates charging on the job site altogether, at least in 99% of the applications. That's a totally different approach and one example how we offer solutions to our users that are different and help them to be more efficient overall. Or look at a hammer. A hard-hitting hammer is a good hammer, of course. And we have lots of hard-hitting hammers. But it's not only about that. It's also about, can I maybe adjust the hammer to the individual task needs? Sometimes you don't want full performance. Sometimes you want it to be a little smoother, a little more precise. Sometimes you want the power. So personalization of a product. Safety is an aspect. We have kickback control, for example, that prevents that you break or injure your wrist. Ergonomics are important, weight, durability. There's so much that is important about a product, and we are really trying to develop solutions that hit our user needs in all aspects. So we're not looking at 1 or 2 KPIs that we are trying to improve. We also want to be a reliable partner, and as a reliable partner to our users, we want to protect the investment that our users have already made in products and in accessories. And that's why we are always striving to the maximum extent technically possible to offer solutions that are forward and backward compatible. What does that mean? For example, in cordless. Since we launched our 18-volt lithium-ion cordless program about 10 years ago, all batteries and all products that we ever put in the market are still compatible. You can use the latest product with the oldest battery that you bought maybe in 2006. And you can still use the oldest product with the latest batteries, and obviously all chargers charge all batteries. We never had a break in our system because we believe our users have invested in tools and in batteries, and we shouldn't just say, well, there's a greater battery now, you change the battery, but you need new tools because the battery doesn't work with the old tools. And same for the Starlock. You will see Starlock later, the new accessory system for our oscillating tools, where you have lots of benefits with this new accessory, but it still works with the old tools that you already invested in. And that, in our opinion, also is an important aspect of being a reliable partner for professionals. Then obviously cordless. I mean, the world is going cordless, our users do love cordless, and we continuously push the limits in cordless. We have the broadest range of cordless solutions from 10.8 volt to 36 volt professional outdoor garden equipment, batteries that are capable of replacing basically a petrol lawnmower in professional use applications. They are waterproof, lots of juice in them. So a very wide span that we offer there. We continuously push. I talked about the inductive charging already. We are the only one offering that solution with charging while you drive. We are also pushing the limits on traditional batteries like the 18-volt battery, where we are now introducing, and you will see this later, what we call the N-Eraser battery. That's a battery almost the same size of the 18-volt battery of today, but with about 50% more power that it can deliver, making cordless possible in even more demanding, power-demanding applications than in the past. So we continuously push on cordless. And last, but certainly not least, the digital topic, digital ecosystem topic, where you will see some solutions today. There's certainly a lot more to come. You probably know Track My Tools that we launched September last year, our inventory management solution, and we will roll this out into more and more products and connectivity for our products, personalization, but also a mobile toolbox, for example, that helps our users with lots of small efficiency-enhancing app solutions to become more productive overall. But I don't want to steal the thunder from my colleagues who speak after me about innovation, about brand, and certainly not from the experience zones later on. So that concludes my part of the presentation, and it's back to Keith.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you very much, Ralph. Okay, so we've heard about challenges of digital. We've heard a little bit of where we're going. And of course, the user centricity, but all of this is really helped if we have great technology, and who better than Wolfgang Hirschburger to tell us more about the Bosch technology. Round of applause for
Hello, everybody. I have the pleasure to lead you through the technical session of this presentation and show you where Bosch Blue Power Tools stand out in terms of technology. I will talk about mainly 6 aspects of our technologies, mainly concerning the cordless side of our business. Talk about batteries, I'll talk about sensors, important for the connectivity topics. I will talk about connected things, drivetrains of cordless tools, and within the drivetrains about the motors and what are we doing special there. And last but not least, very important topic, electronics. Battery excellent. And Ralph has already alluded a little bit towards it. Let us start with a battery pack or battery packs. Now, while pretty much everybody in our industry uses the same core components for a battery pack, the difference is made by how you use these components, by how you cluster them, by how you connect them, and how you manage actually these battery cells. That only yields then a product that gives you long lifetime, longevity, at the highest possible power. So a further step in the development of our battery packs is the N-Eraser pack, which you can see here on the screens. The N-Eraser pack is a battery pack that is almost the same size as our standard packs, but has greatly increased power, and that has only been made possible by including new technologies in the way how we connect our battery cells inside. Therefore, we specifically developed, together with our colleagues from Bosch Research and Development, a welding system that has not been used so far in battery tools, namely laser welding. And that allows us to increase performance greatly while maintaining the longevity of the product. And of course, also as Ralph has already alluded to, this new battery pack will fit to all the tools that we have brought in the market since 2005. So, sensors. Sensors is a very important topic going forwards, also for the connected world. And in sensors, we do actually have the great luck of being part of a big company that actually defines and produces sensors. Be that for the automotive industry, be it in your smartphones. Pretty much every one of your smartphones that you have has a Bosch sensor included. And in 2015, we have already used more than 500,000 sensors in our power tools. So why is that good? It's just a number. It's good because we actually come up with solutions that help our users in their daily work. And in this topic, we actually try to avoid hand and wrist injuries, which are quite common amongst our users, and they result in firstly pain, and obviously secondly in downtime. And we can address both with that with our kickback control solutions. So we introduced kickback control already in some of our high torque cordless tools a few years ago, and we are now extending the use of kickback control also to our corded power tools going forwards towards the end of the year. A very fine example of cordless, of sensor technology and actually actuation technology you will see in the back here is our React saw. And the React saw is another example where sensors help you to actually reduce injuries, and in this topic, actually very serious injuries. As we go along in sensor topics, there will be more and more applications coming. I cannot talk to all of them that we have in the pipeline, but stay tuned. The sensor topic, on that channel, there will be more news coming. Connected things and making the bridge. Sensors are very important for the connected things. And for connected things, Bosch is launching its own cloud. So why is Bosch launching its own cloud? It's actually to be secure and offer privacy to your data. In this day and age, you don't know what happens with your data if you go to one of the big cloud providers. In this topic, Bosch is actually offering privacy and security, and for Bosch and our partners. So Bosch is also striving to come up with an ecosystem. How does it work? On the one hand, in the connected world, we do have the smart things. Smart things like charging station for electromobility, we have heating systems, we have industrial machines, we do have white goods, and we do have, for example, power tools. So of all these things, you can actually collect data. The data in itself is not worth a lot until you actually process it with a software. Here, the Bosch IoT software suite, and then provide information and useful applications to our consumers. So, to sum it up, Bosch will provide a secure environment in which future connected services and business models, importantly, can be run in a secure way. What does that mean for the power tools again? In future, our connected power tools will be recognizable by a little black lid, and that little black lid houses a connectivity device, or our connectivity device, that is actually needed to transfer data from the tool into the cloud. The nice part about this approach is, if you have not opted to put or to connect your tools when you bought it, you can retrofit it later on. And even should there be a change in technology going forward, it would be relatively easy to retrofit your tool with a new technology, because you would only have to change that little blue button. Back to more traditional real hardware again, also very important in terms of the performance of a cordless tool. In a cordless tool, you always have limited energy. You only have the energy available that is stored in the battery. as opposed to a corded power tool where there's always enough energy coming out of the outlet socket. So in this case, we have to make sure that the main components of a tool, we call that the drivetrain, consisting of the battery system, the electronics, and also the motor, even down to the gearbox, that they are all running like a well-oiled machine. Only if we get the highest efficiencies out of each and every component, we get in the end a high-efficient power tool that gives our user a fascinating experience. We spend a considerable amount of energy and in simulation to make sure we get the best honed systems, and you will see that in the experience area where my colleagues will explain you how we're doing that. One of the components crucial, and where I want to talk a little more detail, is the motors, because in motors we have seen quite progress in terms of motors going from standard brushed motors to EC motors. Here our focus is not just to put an EC motor in, our focus is to put a motor in that offers the highest efficiency at the smallest size and weight. How do we achieve that? We use, for example, high resonance ring magnets with a proprietary magnetization pattern on it, and that allows us to achieve exactly these KPIs in terms of weight and size. So most of the topics I just talked to actually do require electronics. So electronics is becoming a more and more and even bigger part of a tool. With a simple 12-volt drill driver with an EC motor, the NASA could have flown to the moon many times over already in terms of what we have in there in computing power. That will not change. On the contrary, that will increase. So our approach is to come up with a completely new system of electronics, and that completely new system of electronics you can pretty much compare to what is being done in an automobile. We will have in future bus systems in our power tools that allows us to add and take away components as they come along and as they're being developed. And as I already alluded to, in sensors there is a high dynamic, so we have the opportunity to add in sensors. The connectivity part is a part that will develop. Also HMI, the human-machine interface, is a topic that we actually deal with. And also here, we now have with that approach of electronics the ability to add and change our tools in a much better and a much more responsive way. So, technology is not just an end in itself, although me as an engineer, I love technology and I sometimes think it's an end in itself. But in the end, technology is an enabler to come up with fascinating product for our users. As long as we don't bring, so to speak, the rubber on the road, the technology is not of a lot of use. So, as such, I'll now guide you through some of the innovations that you will see. So it's only a few selected ones. And amongst them is, as Ralph has already talked to, the wireless charging system that allows you to charge while you are idle or while you have downtime or no range time. We extend that system to the 10.8 volt system of our power tools. We will show you an extremely versatile way of changing accessories in our oscillating tools. We will show you ways of how to measure accurately and at the same time document. That is in the end is always a problem. Yeah, you can measure very well, but do I have the pencil? Where is the things? So measuring accurate is one piece of the coin. The other piece is how can I actually put these measurements to work? So you will see that here. And we'll have a link between tools and accessories. That will be the new Bosch Pocket Assistant app that we'll introduce to you. As well, and last but not least, the connected tools and what we are doing in terms of preparing ourselves for the connected world or the digitalization also in our industry. So, enough said about technology. You will have the opportunity to get your hands on it and your eyes on it later on. So with that, I hand over to Keith again. Keith.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang.
Yep.
Okay, so summarize it again. We've talked about digital revolution, talked about what it means for Bosch and PT. We've talked about the user approach, and we've talked about the technology. Okay, so you could argue that a lot of companies probably have good technologies too, and also have a user approach. So the question is that everything? Is there something more about Bosch that makes us special? And I think to answer that question, a big round of applause for Martina Ehrmann.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you very much. So, indeed, do we have anything else which differentiates us furthermore? And yes, we have. It's the brand. It's the Bosch brand, which is so strong. And we are also proud of it, that's true. But believe me, ladies and gentlemen, brands in this fast-changing world, in this digital world, become even more important, have even bigger and greater responsibilities, and have even bigger impacts on the market for the users. And Bosch Professional, Bosch Blue, remains undoubtedly dedicated and committed to the professional users, to craftsmen and industry. And actually, I go even further. We see ourselves as part of the professional community. We are part of all those generalists and specialists, the electricians, the joiners, the HVACs. We are part of all those people living, earning their living with their crafts. That's how we see ourselves. And what do we stand for? Bosch Blue stands for fascinating solutions, quality, and responsibility. Actually, we care a lot about health and safety aspects for our users. All our offering must fulfill and does fulfill those criteria. And that's how our professional users will be able to generate best results in the most efficient way. And what is our communication concept? How do we communicate to our users? And what is our new communication claim? It's in your hands, Bosch Professional. Actually, it's the professional user with his expertise, with his competence, together with the Bosch power tool, delivering best results in the most efficient way. And here it is. I'm very happy to reveal the new visualization of our communication concept to you. First time, it's in your hands, Bosch Professional. Strong and unique. How does it look like when we are launching new product innovations? The user, his competence, his knowledge, together with his hands, merge together with the Bosch power tool to an unbeatable team. This team guarantees best results in the most efficient way. And where do we communicate with our users? Actually, our brand, we have a very, very strong performance promise. We believe whenever and wherever our users look for support and product information, we are there. Mobile on the website. When he's on his way, in the Bosch Toolbox app. Offline, in an innovation roadshow, or at a very strong point of sale display at the stores. And also we are very active in all those social media networks and so on and so forth, where nowadays users exchange their ideas and get their recommendations and show their activities. This is the new look and feel, what we are going to launch and roll out across Europe in all medias consistently to clearly show that this is the new way how Bosch Blue will communicate to the professional users. We are looking forward to it. It's in your hands, Bosch Professional. And with this, I hand back to Keith. No, that's not true. It's not Keith anymore. Actually, I hand back to Martin.
Yes, now it is time for your questions. Thank you, Martina. And may I ask you, Mr. Dammertz, Mr. Hirschburger, to come back on stage again. Just one thing I would like to ask you for. When you want to ask a question, please give us a hand signal so we can come to your place. We will provide you with a microphone so that everybody can hear what you're asking. And please introduce yourself, since we are a large group, with your name, with your media. And may we ask you to give us the question in English, please, so that our interpreters can translate into your respective language again. So, now it's up to you. Time for your questions. Who wants to be the first to ask a question? Can hardly see anything.
Good on photos.
Come on, guys.
So maybe we should start with a question here on the stage first. We have heard a lot about connected tools. So what would be interesting from my point of view, what could be a long-term goal for Bosch Power Tools with regards to connected tools? I think Mr. Dammertz, Mr. Hirschburger, you are the best to answer this one. What would you say is a long-term goal?
You take it, Ralph.
Yeah, I think our long-term goal is basically to get all of our products connected, or at least give our users the ability to connect all of our products. Because we believe that there are many use cases where having all the information from the products that you as a user are using, they benefit you and they give you a better overview. You can save money with them. You can also adjust products to your needs, and all of that requires connectivity. And our vision is that all of our products at some point will be connected, or at least connectivity ready. And that creates the basis, as Keith said very early on, with all the information that you can then gather from these products to really create additional benefits, even some that we may not be able to think of today. We don't have the answers for the questions, but the one thing I'm really convinced of is the more information we have also from our product, from how they are being used through sensors, the better we can build use cases that in the end improve the efficiency and productivity of our users.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our vision.
To give you an example, in the one tool that you will see in the back here, with sensing technology, we are actually able to see what a single tooth of a circular saw blade is doing while it's spinning at 3,500 RPM. And that obviously helps us greatly in reducing danger in the use of our tools and to our users. And that was something without sensing we could never have done until now. Just too fast, too reaction time, actuation that had to be developed. And data we collect from there, and health and safety is obviously only one aspect. You can also use it then to improve processes to eliminate only 30% wrench time. You know, for example, the guy who does the timbers has just packed his machine away, and the next craftsman gets the information. The timber guy is ready. You can now start installing this or that. So these kind of information flows. So there is endless opportunities. Not everything will be immediately a hit, but that's exactly, we're in a trial phase, so to speak, in that.
So, first hand over here.
Hi, my name is John Christensen. I come from Norway.
Okay.
My son is doing timber work in the company he works for. It's very simple, just to put the tools for charging and have an extra battery, and not think about someone's going to analyze and look for the inventory list and sort of a big brother is watching you. How do you think about this?
I think there are certainly applications where inventory management and watching how the products are being used, or even wireless charging, may not be a necessity or a big benefit. But we also think there are many applications, especially for mobile users who are driving around a lot, and tools that are being shared among different people within a business, within a company. There, the benefit really kicks in of these solutions. So we're not saying that everybody will benefit from each individual solution that we put out there. But we believe there are a lot of people who will benefit, and in this example, I think mobile users are top of the list of the potential beneficiaries.
And in the plans, it's actually free to the user, as we have just showed. If you don't want to be connected, you leave it. So that freedom. So we don't want to hijack somebody into a system. They have to come because it offers them a benefit.
So user benefit is a top priority for connected power tools. Another question over there.
Hi. Tool theft is quite an expensive concern for many tradespeople. In what way do the connected tools help with sort of tool security? Are there tracking features? Are there ways of monitoring who has the tool at what time? What sort of benefits are there?
Yeah, I think it always helps. I mean, there are two sides of it, right? The one side is the concern: am I being tracked as a craftsman, and does my boss know even if I make a little coffee break? That's a concern we are taking very seriously. So we are trying to develop solutions that don't go so far that the boss can really track every step of his employees, for example. And you wouldn't want that, I wouldn't want that, so we don't want our users to be tracked that way. But then there are a lot of benefits by knowing when are people doing what, when are they done with a certain job, what have they done, where are they maybe just wasting times, where are idle times, just knowing about all of this and being able to analyze, and also with tools then to analyze that information, just shows then the company owner or the foreman where potential improvements are for productivity. And it's a difficult balance, no doubt about it. But we want to make sure that people don't feel tracked, and we don't want to track people for the benefit of just tracking them. And we are not interested in that information. We have this cloud the Bosch cloud, that we are trying to make it as secure as possible. And we want to give the user the possibility to also decide to what extent they want to be tracked. But we also believe there are huge potentials, and this balance has to be something that we want to work out. You have to balance it again and again with every use case.
And of course, Bosch would never track anything without approval by the user himself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So data security is a top priority of Bosch.
Right.
So here's another hand.
My name is Henrik Stoll, Parquet Magazine, Germany. A more technical question, talking about the battery pack. Is it a secret, or is there any other thing except from laser welding that did enhance the power?
No secret. Again, I mean, in the world, you have 3-4 big companies that do produce battery cells. And if you open our competitors, you will recognize the same kinds of cells over and over again. The important bit about a battery pack is heat management in the end. Heat management, because the higher the heat while you use the battery, the higher the heat while you charge your battery, the more aggressively the chemical reactions within the battery cells take place. And that is in the end paying negatively into the longevity of the battery cells. I mean, in technical terms, we talk about charging cycles, and so every company has their target that they want to achieve in terms of charging cycles. And the cooler you can keep your battery while usage, the better for the longevity of the cell. So the cells in the past, the cell itself was, so to speak, the highest resistance within the whole chain if you connect it. So that is basically coming out of the cell. There's not a lot you can do. Development in the cells has been very rapid over the last years, and we see step changes pretty much every 8 to 12 months that we have to look at very closely, because a lithium cell is not, we always call it it's a ballerina. You need to keep it in the right mood. So that's also where we need a lot of electronics. What has come now with the higher power applications is that actually the welding points where you connect the cells together, they are actually becoming hotspots in discharge. So to reduce the resistance at specifically these welding points, that has been recognized by us a few years ago, because we did not have a solution ready. Now, Bosch Central Research Division is very knowledgeable in terms of laser technology. So you probably have read in diesel injection valves, we do laser drilling and whatever. So there is a lot of know-how there. And we actually got together with these guys and said, we have that problem. We have two dissimilar materials, because we've also wanted to get away from the normal cell connectors. A normal cell connector is typically made out of nickel for welding purposes. And we said, we want to have copper, and we want to weld copper to nickel. And two dissimilar materials, one challenge, and then weld that in a way that once the laser hits the cell, it doesn't burn right through the cell, is another challenge. So it actually was a 24 to 36 months effort together with our colleagues, and we have now, and you can see that later on in the experience area, achieved excellent results. And if you make a heat scan of a battery pack while discharging, while these points in the past were red, they are now basically green. So a bit long, but you know, if you ask me technical questions, I tend to get taken away.
So very interesting. Other hands. Here is another hand. Just.
Yeah, Klaus Becker from Modbau here in Germany. A question concerning figures. I think if you make such a big and interesting change, you had something in mind which also has business relation. And the question is, first question, did you think that going along the old way, that you could not reach any longer your increasing figures which the company is going to expect? And what are your plans for the next 5 years in increasing rates compared to the past, with the new concept and with all these ideas, communication and so on?
So maybe that's kind of a communications question. As you know, we communicate our numbers only from the past. So in 2015, we saw a 10% rise in our sales. And we had record sales, actually, around 50 million units sold for the first time for Bosch Power Tools. What we cannot comment on is any speculation for the future, but for sure we are a big company, and we are always striving to meet the customer's needs, but also to earn money, as every other big company. Yeah. But sorry, we can't go into any numbers for the future.
Maybe just.
But in case you need numbers for the past year or stuff like that, just come back to me, to Stephanie. We will provide you with the details.
But in general, I can at least add that it's not really driven by any revenue projections or so. This development is, in our opinion, really driven by the user. We believe that there is benefit for the user in this, and we believe our industry will change. So that pretty much is the driver behind our initiatives and pushing digital solutions, even if maybe in the first place they may not be that huge or not that profitable, but it is something that the user expects and that will help the user in long term. So we have to be very early in this development. That's the driver behind it, not so much any revenue projections for the future.
So we have another question.
Hi, Roger Bisbee from Professional Builder magazine in England. You say you believe that the user wants these benefits, but have you got any research? Because a lot of our readers in England, it's a bit of a backward country, admittedly, but they just want to drill a hole.
Yeah, well, if you ask them, that's indeed what they often say, and still they are probably using WhatsApp. And if you ask them years ago if they need WhatsApp, they would have said, no, I've got text messaging. And it's very difficult to ask a user, what do you need in future? And we are facing this difficulty ourselves, and we don't have the silver bullet there. I mean, I explained to you how we approach it, but it is really a challenge to talk to users and find out what are the solutions that they will want once they are available, because they can't tell you. And if you just ask them, do you want your product to be connected? They would say, well, I wanted to drill a hole. I mean, it's a very typical answer. I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
But once we come up with a solution and explain to him how he benefits from the solution, then I believe the barrier drops very quickly. But you're right, asking users, they will often tell you, nice to have, or I don't need it.
Yeah, I'd just say that reliability comes up time and time again as being the most important factor. Are you convinced that these tools will be as reliable as ones without all this electronics?
Absolutely. That's certainly our target, and I think we have a very good track record in reliability, and we are striving to keep them as reliable as our products without these electronics, I think is what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
So any other hands? I think we could do one more question. Maybe you asked about our research, and I think that's something which is pretty important for us. And maybe a question could be user experience. We heard a lot about user experience today. So when do we, as Power Tools, actually involve the user? Is it 2 weeks prior to launch? Is it maybe 6 months prior to launch? And when and how do we involve the user in the product development process? That would be interesting from my point of view.
So maybe I wasn't clear in my presentation then. We are actually doing it throughout the entire development cycle, right? The day before yesterday, we had about 100 users here, and we showed them our innovations, but it wasn't so much about showing them what we have already developed. It was also to be in touch with them and find out what other user needs are there. We gave them a sneak preview on a couple of concepts that are very early, and we are really involving the user even when we don't have a solution yet, just finding out what the problem is. And then we continue with our UX approach to involve the user in every phase of the project. And it's really this iterative and repetitive involvement of the user. When we think we have a great solution, we go back to the user with this concept, even if it may not be a working prototype yet. It may just be a concept. We put it in front of users, we discuss with them, would that work for you? Is this what you were looking for? And then we take the feedback, we improve, because you always learn something when you talk to users. And so we improve it until we finally launch the product. And on regular products, I mean, the end of involving the user that intensively is once you go into tooling, because when you order tooling for a plastic part, you pretty much have made up your mind. But in digital solutions, we actually involve them to launch and even beyond launch, because in an app, you know it from your devices probably, an app is never done. I mean, there are upgrades, so we continue to involve users after we've even launched the project or the product.
So I was asking this because I think that is a major change. Most companies used to be rather products out companies. So you show your product just prior to launch, and competitive reasons, you know. And I think that's a big change. So now it's a users in company, and that's what we want to be. Okay. In case there might arise other questions, our executives will be with us. Oh, there is another hand? Oh, sorry. Didn't see that one.
Okay, my name is Ton Bijk from Holland. I have just one question about all this connectivity. Is this also have an impact on the price? So I come from Holland.
You want me to answer? Well, connected products will have an upcharge. We think it's a small upcharge, but as I said, we want to offer two options to the users. The connectivity ready option, where you can still, after the fact, buy this connectivity module that you put in. Then you can decide not to buy this, and the product will not be more expensive than a non-connected product. You then pay once you want to connect it, and we will offer versions that have the connectivity already, and these will be slightly higher in price.
Okay, so now, in case you have further questions, please come back to us later. Our executives will be with us. Steffi Schäfer and myself will be with you the whole day from the communications department. And yeah, I think now it's time for Keith again. So what's next, Keith?
All right, thanks, guys.